Yeah, it's quite a considerable move from NVIDIA. The results were very positive relative to very positive expectations running into it. And after markets, we saw the price coming down a bit, and then suddenly the market realized, no, this really is great. So, our view is it's the next leg up. It's a continuation of this real enthusiasm around AI. And we wouldn't want to chase it too aggressively. We know the S&P and US markets are very concentrated. So rather than following the Magnificent Seven, I think we're going to see a breakdown into smaller acronyms like M&M, Microsoft and Meta and NVIDIA. So for us, it's participate, but don't chase this too hard over the course of the year.
Even the semiconductors, I was pointing out the semiconductor index up more than 6%, but it's one thing to chase it versus taking money off the table. If you're already invested in the market, we know a lot of people are. The S&P 500 now, because of the weighting of NVIDIA, is just carried higher thanks to the NVIDIA stock if it has more momentum. So do you play it cautiously by putting some protection in, or would you actually take some of the profits off the table?
I think if you're already overweight, it can't hurt to take a little bit of profit as we continue to move higher. In terms of starting from scratch, I wouldn't necessarily jump in and put a particularly large position in there. And if you're someone who is an AI aficionado, you believe in the story, this kind of Gladwell tipping point, this new industrial revolution into AI. If you believe in that story, keep your long position, but maybe put some collars in, use some derivatives tactically to just manage that risk as we move through the course of the year.
I like a good Malcolm Gladwell reference there as well. Outliers. This is an outlier. That's not one of his books. I'll move on. You talked about the markets no longer focused on policy and future rate cuts, but also on upside economic surprises. I want to actually just park that comment next to what we're seeing with the euphoria surrounding NVIDIA. Is the market at the moment, and this is perhaps the only thing that would worry me about NVIDIA, the market more excited about NVIDIA than it is worried about policy at the moment?
I think it is. I think there's a number of factors going on. I think there's the passive is massive, the huge flows of money that moves into...
Passive is massive, I like
Passive
that.
is massive, it's my favourite phrase for this.
I've never heard of it.
There's a lot of money chasing generic benchmark indices. And just looking at the S&P 500, the top 10 names make up a third of the index. And the last time we were there was a long time ago. Yeah. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that necessarily means we're going to have a sudden drop-off, but I do think it just means that you need to be slightly cautious about it. And then, of course, you've got the meme stocks, the Reddit brigade, the people who are chasing those big names without having to do too much due diligence under the table. That's also part of the narrative. But I think it's a very healthy sign that we are moving away from this uber focus on hyper data dependency. What's monetary policy doing? Is it going up? Is it going down? What we're seeing is markets are pivoting slightly away from that towards more of a broader outlook, which is how is the economy doing? What is the broader data looking like? And actually, when you've got bond yields rising, when you've got the dollar holding up quite strong in general following last year, and you've got equities that are continuing to do quite well, that plays into that narrative too.